When Joseph Smith was asked where he got the plates, he answered, "Moroni, who deposited the plates in the hill in Manchester, Ontario County, New York, being dead and raised again therefrom, appeared unto me, and told me where they were, and gave me directions on how to obtain them. I obtained them, and the Urim and Thummim with them, by means of which I translated the plates, and thus came the Book of Mormon." In History of the Church, Volume 1, pages 183 and 184, is recorded Oliver Cowdery's speech to the Delaware Indians. Here is a portion thereof. "This book, which contained these things, was hid in the earth by Moroni in a hill called by him Cumorah, which hill is now in the state of New York, near the village of Palmyra in Ontario County." In Mormon chapter 6, verse 6, we read, "And it came to pass when we gathered in all our people in one to the land of Cumorah, behold, I, Mormon, began to be old. And knowing it to be the last struggle of my people, and having been commanded of the Lord that I should not suffer the records which had been handed down by our fathers, which were sacred, to fall into the hand of the Lamanites, for the Lamanites would destroy them. Therefore I made this record out of the plates of Nephi, and hid up in the hill Cumorah all the records which had been entrusted to me by the hand of the Lord, save it were these few plates which I gave unto my son Moroni." In Journal of Discourses, Volume 19, on page 39, Brigham Young speaks of Joseph and Oliver Cowdery. "This is an incident in the life of Oliver Cowdery, but he did not take the liberty of telling such things in meeting as I take. I tell these things to you, and I have a motive for doing so. I want to carry them to the ears of my brethren and sisters, and to the children also, that they may grow to an understanding of some things that seem to be entirely hidden from the human family. Oliver Cowdery went with the prophet Joseph when he deposited these plates. Joseph did not translate all of the plates. There was a portion of them sealed, which you can learn from the Book of Doctrine and Covenants. When Joseph got the plates, the angel instructed him to carry them back to the hill Cumorah, which he did. Oliver says that when Joseph went there, the hill opened, and they walked into a cave in which there was a large and spacious room. He said he did not think at the time whether they had the light of the sun or artificial light, but that it was just as light as day. They laid the plates on a table. It was a large table that stood in the room. Under this table there was a pile of plates as much as 2 feet high, and there were altogether in this room more plates than probably many wagon loads. They were piled up in the corners and along the walls. The first time they went there, the sword of Laban hung upon the wall, but when they went again, it had been taken down and laid upon the table across the gold plates. It was unsheathed, and on it was written these words, "This sword will never be sheathed again until the kingdoms of this world become the kingdom of our God and his Christ." I tell you this is coming not only from Oliver Cowdery, but others who were familiar with it, and who understood it just as well as we understand coming to this meeting, enjoying the day, and by we separate and go away, forgetting most of what is said, but remembering some things. So is it with other circumstances in life. I relate this to you, and I want you to understand it. I take this liberty of referring to those things so that they will not be forgotten and lost. In Church News of February 27, 1954, President Joseph Fielding Smith, then President of the Quorum of the 12, wrote concerning 2 Cumorahs. "Within recent years there has arisen among certain students of the Book of Mormon a theory to the effect that within the period covered by the Book of Mormon, the Nephites and Lamanites were confined almost within the borders of the territory comprising Central America and the southern portion of Mexico, the Isthmus of Tehuantepec probably being the narrow neck of land spoken of in the Book of Mormon rather than the Isthmus of Panama. This modernistic theory of necessity, in order to be consistent, must place the waters of Ripley-Ancum and the hill Cumorah someplace within the restricted territory of Central America, notwithstanding the teachings of the Church to the contrary for upwards of 100 years.
Because of this theory, some members of the church have become confused and greatly disturbed in their faith in the Book of Mormon. It is for this reason that evidence is here presented to show that it is not only possible that these places could be located as the church has held during the past century, but that in very deeds such is the case. It is known that the hill Cumorah where the Nephites were destroyed is the hill where the Jaredites were also destroyed. The hill was known to the Jaredites as Ramah. It was approximately near to the waters of Ripley-Ancum, which Ether says by interpretation is large or to exceed all. Mormon adds, "And it came to pass that we did march forth to the land of Cumorah, and we did pitch our tents round about the hill Cumorah, and it was in a land of many waters, rivers, and fountains, and here we had hoped to gain advantage over the Lamanites." It must be conceded that this description fits perfectly the land of Cumorah in New York, as it has been known since the visitation of Moroni to the prophet Joseph Smith, for the hill is in the proximity of the Great Lakes, and also in the land of many rivers and fountains. Moreover, the prophet Joseph Smith himself is on record definitely declaring the present hill called Cumorah to be the exact hill spoken of in the Book of Mormon. Further, the fact that all of his associates from the beginning down have spoken of it as the identical hill where Mormon and Moroni hid the records must carry some weight. It is difficult for a reasonable person to believe that such men as Oliver Cowdery, Brigham Young, Parley P. Pratt, Orson Pratt, David Whitmer, and many others could speak frequently of the spot where the prophet Joseph Smith obtained the plates as the hill Cumorah and not be corrected by the prophet if that were not the fact. That they did speak of this hill in the days of the prophet in this definite manner is an established record of history. President Smith went on to quote the Messenger and Advocate of July 1835, pages 58 and 59. By turning to the 529th and 530th pages of the Book of Mormon, you will read Mormon's account of the last great struggle around this hill Cumorah. In this valley fell the remaining strength and pride of a once powerful people, the Nephites, once so highly favored of the Lord, but at that time in darkness, doomed to suffer extermination by the hand of their barbarous and uncivilized brethren. From the top of this hill, Mormon, with a few others after the battle, gazed with horror upon the mangled remains of those who the day before were filled with anxiety, hope, or doubt. A few had fled to the south, who were hunted down by the victorious party, and all who would not deny the Savior and his religion were put to death. Mormon himself, according to the record of his son Moroni, was also slain. But a long time previous to this national disaster, it appears from his own account, he foresaw approaching destruction. In fact, if he perused the record of his fathers which were in his possession, he could have learned that such would be the case. Alma, who lived before the coming of the Messiah, prophesied this. He, however, by divine appointment, abridged from these records in his own style and language a short account of the more important and prominent items. From the days of Lehi to his own time, after which he deposited, as he says on the 529th page, all the records in this same hill Cumorah, and after gave his small record to his son Moroni, who it appears from the same finished after witnessing the extinction of his people as a nation. This hill by the Jaredites was called Ramah. By it or around it pitched the famous army of Coriantumr their tents. Coriantumr was the last king of the Jaredites. The opposing army was to the west, and in this same valley and nearby from day to day did that mighty race spill their blood, in wrath, contending as it were brother against brother, and father against son. In this same spot, in full view from the top of this same hill, one may gaze with astonishment upon the ground, which was twice covered with the dead and dying of our fellow men. In this vale lie commingled in one mass of ruin the ashes of thousands, and in this vale was destined to consume the fair forms and vigorous systems of tens of thousands of the human race. Blood mixed with blood, flesh with flesh, bones with bones, and dust with dust.